Thousands of Trump supporters have descended on the Capitol from across the country, insisting that the vote has been stolen from Donald Trump. There is no evidence of mass fraud. Joe Biden is the president-elect, according to official vote tallies of legally cast votes. But despite that, America is living in two different realities, and Trump supporters are worried about a future without him in charge. So before all this happened, I talked to people and asked them, why are you so anxious?
You're a sheep. You're a sheep. It's a pandemic. It's a scam.
But today what we're talking about is an election that's about to be stolen.
I pray that you would expose the truth of what is going on, Lord, and that the truth would prevail in justice. In your name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
We were just praying about the election, that whoever truthfully does win this election would actually be inaugurated on January 20th. And I feel like one of the first things that needs to be addressed after this election is election integrity.
There is no evidence of mass voter fraud. Both Republicans and Democratic poll observers and international observers say there were no major problems.
There have been forces at work in an attempt to create this chaos so that it will put somebody who doesn't necessarily deserve to be president in power, or create division and strife.
So help me understand how, when President Trump, weeks before the election, when he says voter fraud, stealing the election,
the mail ballots are corrupt.
How does that affect what people think is happening?
You know, there's legitimate argument to be made that he's abrasive and his methods are not necessarily the best for our body politic. But like it or not, this is who he is. He's not afraid to call it like he sees it.
If Biden wins, what are you afraid of?
I'm concerned about most of his agenda and how it would affect my family. We are Christian believers. I believe science bears out that the unborn child is life, and that when we abort a child, that is murder, and that is a stain on our country.
Are there areas where you feel like the Democrats do not get it?
Do not get it. Well, I mean, I believe that they would look at me and feel that I was a loony. I think that those battle lines are so firmly entrenched. Oftentimes it's hard to have a conversation about those things.
What do you think is doing that?
The coverage in the media. Even as I'm saying these things to you, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm allowing for so many different cuts of this interview to be taken out of context.
I get Sarah's concerns. I don't think the journalists often understand the complexity of Trump voters. But I also don't think people understand that checking facts is not an attack on Trump. Before I found Sarah, and while the polls were still open, it was a little hard to find Trump supporters who would talk to me. Hi, I'm with the Washington Post. I wondered if you'd take a minute.
I'm good.
No?
Nah.
Why not?
It's because the Washington Post lies about everything.
But eventually I found Mark, who didn't want to give his last name. Hi, how are you? What are you afraid of?
Getting attacked for my views. I mean, I don't want to put stickers on my car because I know it's going to get keyed.
Like, who is the other side? Who is the they in this situation?
So I think it's the people who support Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And the group Black Lives Matter picked the ideal, the name, phrase, Black Lives Matter. So that encourages your emotion. This thing started with Obama. And he, instead of trying to wait until all the facts come in, he just blurts it out.
What did he blurt out?
So the Trayvon Martin, the kid who got shot and killed in Florida, I think it was, right? And he said, if I had a son, he'll look like him.
You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
If he's going to be the healer, he shouldn't say anything until all the facts are. I like to go back to the old days when I was in college, you could talk to your friends and say things and not lose your friends. And these days you can lose your friend, lose your job because you support Trump.
I think the criticism, and I'm sure you've heard this, is that his language and some of his actions, some people feel are racist or white supremacist.
The reason a lot of the Trump supporters like Trump is because he talks like the average Joe Schmo. So when Omar said something about it, he said, go back to where you came from.
That if they're not happy here, they can leave. They can leave, and you know what? I'm sure that there'll be many people that won't miss them.
I was thinking that. I was thinking, if you don't like this country, why are you here? Nobody's asking you to stay. I don't want this country to fundamentally to change. I like the way it is. I came to this country, I'm a legal immigrant. I don't want to be linked with illegal immigrants.
Representative Ilhan Omar is a U.S. citizen who legally came here as a refugee. Mark wants to go back to the days when he could voice his opinions and not lose friends, and yet he wants Ilhan Omar to leave the country when she voices hers. You can't have it both ways. Down the street from Mark, I met a high school senior voting in his first presidential election, and the political divides are stressing him out.
It's a whole part of almost half of our country that they support Trump. I mean, I don't know where you're from, but like McLean, Virginia, 22101. They think of people as backwards, and it's so incorrect. It scares me because there's so much more to a human being than an agreement with a certain political candidate. You know.
What are you scared of?
How biases create tribalism, and how kind of immediate presumptions or stereotypes create false assumptions of people.
Have you changed your behavior or your attitude?
Yeah. Because people are so uptight about their political views, and that's going to immediately shape or change how they view you. You just have to change. You can't be open because people get that false stereotype.
It's concerning that the political environment is so hostile that people are afraid of reprisals for expressing their opinions. I mean, the one common denominator between all these people is that they're afraid of being scorned for who they are. But then we also have people who are not willing or able to rationalize or normalize the racism that Trump supported. And they don't feel like it's their job to make Trump supporters feel more comfortable after he used his office to degrade minorities and women and the press. Political sectarianism and misinformation are chipping away at our democracy, and a change in the presidency isn't going to solve that. So we have work to do.
Because the deep state, they took our election, and it's so obvious.
Joe Biden! Arrest Joe Biden! Arrest Joe Biden! USA! USA! USA!
You with faux news? You fake news, people are helping to steal his freedom, and it will not stand. This is a warning. Run away, fake news. You liars! Liars!
Donald Trump lost the election, but he's insisting that he was robbed. And thousands of his supporters are out in the streets saying that the election was stolen. It wasn't. Joe Biden has more votes than Donald Trump, and he won the Electoral College. So I came to listen and try to understand.
I believe that there has been a misappropriation of the votes that were allotted to Trump, and I think that there is enough information and evidence that can be supported.
Can you give me an example of the evidence?
Well, I think that there have been affidavits that have already been filed in several counties, not only in Georgia, but also throughout the U.S., in those states that have been highly contested.
So the Secretary of State of Georgia is a Republican, the party of Donald Trump, and he has said that the results in Georgia are reliable. They are, of course, doing a recount, but he says that we can trust the results.
Well, I do believe that there are always two sides to every discussion.
USA! USA! Communism! Down with communism!
Latinos for Trump!
Socialism sucks.
We're here to support Donald Trump. My husband and I, we both believe that he won.
Trump is saying that the vote was rigged, that the vote was stolen. Do you believe that?
I'm starting to because, was it the Dominion, one of the accounting systems, has had a lot of errors that we've heard. Well, at least some of the errors that have come out. And then if you look at who owns them, is by the same people that rigged the election in Venezuela. So if they did that there, so they could also do it here. I mean, that's why I hope they do a lot of more hand recounts at a lot of the states.
So Dominion voting systems is used in 28 states, including Florida and Ohio, which Trump easily won. There is no evidence that it altered any votes, let alone millions of them in the U.S., and it wasn't involved in Venezuela's election. But the irony here is that Democrats in Congress have pushed for greater oversight of election technology vendors, and Republicans blocked the efforts. How do you feel about the results of the election?
I feel that it is not legit. I will never believe the results, and until we get some change and the Republicans start standing up and fighting back, this is what's going to continue.
What are you yelling about?
That's the Antifa that wants to start burning and breaking stuff.
Are these the press?
That whole line that are being protected by the police.
But it's press.
Pardon?
It's a press.
They look like jail. That's because they're trying to fuck with the dog show.
I will say it's intense. It's super intense, but it's not violent. People are pretty peaceful. There's, an aggressive presence with the Proud Boys here, but there's also suburban moms and kids out here.
Let's go, Proud Boys! Let's go! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
The other thing that I will say is very much on my mind, there's a pandemic, and I'm just hoping everybody's okay after these events.
Stand with Trump! Stand with Trump!
If Biden actually won, then he would prove that he did win, which I don't believe. And then if Donald Trump won, President Trump won again, then it would prove that he won again.
Republican officials in Pennsylvania, your home state, are saying that there is no evidence of fraud. Do you feel like they don't have enough information, or that they're in on the scam?
Probably both. I mean, you can have officials say anything if they don't know anything else besides that. So they always say officials, but you can get the lowest official just to say anything. It might be true, might not be true. So.
And how do you come to a conclusion about what is a fact?
Well, most of the time it's something I like to see. Depends on the context, I guess, what you're talking about, like facts.
If there is what you believe a grand scam, do you still think that Trump has enough votes to make
Definitely.
up several million vote difference?
I do. I think that it's ridiculous to think that 200,000 votes can suddenly come in, and that what is the statistical possibility that all 200,000 votes would be for one candidate?
The Democratic candidate urged people to vote by mail, and so Democrats disproportionately, they have a higher level of vote by mail.
I understand.
So if you feel like the presidential election was stolen, do you think that all of the races
I think they're suspect.
And what will you do if Trump says, I lost the election?
I don't believe he will do it. I don't believe he'll do it. He's a fighter, just like we are. We are a country of immigrants. So my parents came here and we fought, and I believe that's what I love about Trump. He's a fighter.
This MAGA March on Washington shatters every stereotype of a Trump supporter. Yes, there are far-right hate groups, but there are also immigrants and gay couples and black families worried about their children's future. As diverse as this group is, the one thing that unifies them is a belief that Donald Trump is right. and they likely will be around to support him no matter what he does next.